So we all think that the race in building the super app of the Philippines has already been won by Gcash, but maybe the race is actually far from over. So PayMaya rebranded to Maya last year, and they've pretty much been everywhere lately with their ads, their billboards telling us that they're a bank. But can they really catch up? Almost everyone I know uses Gcash, and I haven't really encountered anyone asking me to send them money through PayMaya. And personally, I just thought that Gcash was like light years ahead of PayMaya. I even made a video about it, go check that out. But apparently, while Gcash was being used by peers to send money to each other, PayMaya has been crushing it so far in getting businesses to use them to process payments. The Maya terminal is being used by McDonald's, Jollibee, Mercury Drug, government agencies, and brands that have a presence nationwide. And unknown to a lot of us, Maya is actually the largest processor of merchant payments in the Philippines. PayMaya Enterprise, which is now rebranded to Maya Business, may be under the radar to a lot of us regular consumers, but is actually one of Maya's most lucrative divisions. In this video, I talk about the origins of Maya, the difference of Maya strategies with what Gcash used, and the timeline of Maya's battle with Gcash. If you're new here and you're interested in learning about the origins of the biggest brands in the Philippines, then consider subscribing. My name is Chris, welcome to my channel. To understand what Maya is today, we have to go back to its origins. So surely you guys know Smart, one of the two major telco companies in the Philippines. So around that time, Smart already shared like half of the market with Globe. So they already had like tens of millions of subscribers. And so Smart already had distribution. So around this time, they were exploring other opportunities. And the one they decided to launch was this thing that allowed you to link your old Nokia phones with your credit cards, which allowed people to pay using their phones. So Smart partnered up with MasterCard and launched Smart Money, the world's first electronic cash card linked to a mobile phone. So with this, you could transfer money from your bank account to your Smart Money account on your phone, and then you could pay using your phone when you're at the mall or at a restaurant. I know that nowadays, cashless payments feel pretty normal, but back then, having something like this, it was pretty groundbreaking. Eventually, it evolved to having this feature where you can transfer money from one Smart Money account to another Smart Money account. What's interesting was that around this time, Smart Money was actually ahead since it launched in 2000, while it would take Globe until 2004 to launch Gcash. But then the problem was that there wasn't really much you could do with your phones back then. There were a couple of smartphones already in the market, but most of us here were still using our old Nokias. But the features that it allowed were very limited. And so it's as if the mobile payments category had a ceiling that only a technological breakthrough could break. And this happened when Apple launched the iPhone in 2007. This ignited the rise of the smartphones, and there was so much more you could do with a smartphone. The following year, in 2008, Gcash would launch its remittance feature where you can send and receive money. Smart would then launch their own as well. And slowly, you could see that the battle was unfolding. This leads us to the story of how PayMaya was launched. So Smart had this innovations division where they were given projects in categories that they think would be the next big thing. Now, I'm not sure which came first, but this group would eventually become Voyager Innovations, the creators of PayMaya. I'm not sure whether Voyager was launched first or if Voyager simply evolved from their innovations arm into an independent incubator. But what's interesting to me was how PayMaya came about. So it all started when the team was assigned to figure out new insights for this project. So they were asking around. They would go to rural areas, they would talk to people, just see what's happening out there. And not on a large scale research type of thing, but more of a grassroots door-to-door level of investigation. And so while they were snooping around, they discovered that in this one area in Bicol, there was this one house that people would go to in order to book flights online. And that's because it was the only house that had a credit card, and you needed that in order to do online transactions. And a lot of people, especially in the C&D markets, don't have credit cards. I mean, most of them don't even have bank accounts. That's because the Philippines has always been a cash-first society. And so in this area, people would go there, pay the sari-sari store in cash, and then the store would buy their tickets for them using their credit card. And so this became the insight that kickstarted the project. So the team focused on solving this one thing. The first value proposition that they had was to be able to get people to book a flight in under 10 minutes. Meaning, in under 10 minutes, you should be able to download the app, put money into it, and get yourself your plane ticket. That was it. That was the one goal of the project, was to create something that could do this. And so they were given 100 days to accomplish this. An interesting thing that I discovered was that it wasn't actually supposed to be called PayMaya. The first name that they were gonna go for was MePay, which was gonna stand for Mobile Electronics, so MA. MePay. Okay, so they built this whole thing up and it starts to work. Eventually, they decided to double down on the project because it was the only project, or if not the few projects that made money. And so in 2016, Smart Money rebranded to PayMaya. And it was really around this time when Gcash and PayMaya would take their rivalry to a whole new level because this was when foreign investors would start to come in. So a year after Smart Money rebranded to PayMaya, Gcash had a huge capital injection because they onboarded a massive company on its side in 2017 when the Ant Group invested in Mint, the parent company of Gcash. So the Ant Group is a subsidiary of the Chinese tech giant Alibaba. I also talk about this in more detail in my Gcash video, so once again, go check that out. But basically, the Ant Group owns Alipay, and Alipay is China's leading online and mobile payments app. It's one of the top super apps in China, and that's perfect because Gcash is trying to be the super app of the Philippines. If you have no idea what super apps are, basically a super app is the go-to app for everything you need. Examples are Grab and Shopee. They're both trying to be super apps. And super apps usually have food delivery, online payments, bills payment, online shopping. You should be able to do everything there. And so knowing that, if you look at Gcash and Maya now, that's kind of what they're trying to become. And for Gcash to have Alibaba on its side, it's a massive boost not only in terms of capital but also in terms of technology. Because Alibaba can now leverage its technical expertise not only from Alipay but also from the other payment apps that it owns. Because Alibaba doesn't only own Alipay, part of its portfolio is KakaoPay in South Korea, I'm sure you guys have heard of it, and Paytm in India, and they have a couple of others. So it can leverage all these into Gcash into helping it become the super app in the Philippines. So at this stage, PayMaya starts to look small. They start to look like David against Gcash's Goliath. But not for long, because the following year in 2018, it would also have a massive Chinese backer on its side. Tencent. Tencent is one of the few companies that could rival the size of Alibaba, and they have one of the biggest portfolio of companies in the gaming industry. And where Alipay is the #1 mobile payments app in China, Tencent owns the #1 super app in China, and that's WeChat. And so now that Tencent backed PayMaya, Gcash versus PayMaya starts to look like this proxy battle between the biggest companies in China in Alibaba and Tencent and the two biggest telco companies in the Philippines in Globe and Smart. So now these two are now armed with capital and technical expertise. So both Gcash and PayMaya ramp things up, but they both take different strategies. Gcash launches GoPay in 2017, the first mobile QR payment system, and Gcash starts to double down on getting as many people as possible to use Gcash for sending and receiving money. PayMaya, on the other hand, starts working on partnerships, and they go for the biggest partner possible, which was SM, allowing users to use PayMaya to pay in SM malls. The following year, Gcash does the same, so PayMaya responds with partnering with government agencies. They go for BIR. But then around this time, Gcash starts to take the lead. Their strategy, it starts to work. In 2019, Gcash rebrands to the logo we're all familiar with today. The rebrand was incredibly timely because this was a year before the pandemic when both Gcash and PayMaya both experienced exponential growth because Filipinos had no choice but to embrace cashless payments. And so during the pandemic, by the end of 2020, Gcash hits 33 million users compared to PayMaya's 28 million. In 2021, the lead widens with Gcash hitting 55 million users compared to PayMaya's 38. And with this, Gcash achieved double unicorn status, which means that it now had a valuation of over $2 billion. And it became profitable 3 years ahead of schedule. And around this point was when you would personally experience the disparity between Gcash and PayMaya. Like, you would never really hear anyone say that they'll pay you through PayMaya. And so I think it was around this time when I made that video, but then little did I know that PayMaya was doing something that was under the radar for a lot of us regular consumers. So while Gcash was doubling down on its e-wallet, to be fair, PayMaya was also working hard on its e-wallet, but then it also had another focus, which was its enterprise business. Have you guys noticed that when you pay using your credit card or you via a cashless payment, you see that small device that the staff usually hands you? That's called a payment terminal. And in the case where there's no payment terminal, you would still get a glimpse of PayMaya's logo while your payment is being processed. That's because PayMaya has something called PayMaya Enterprise. So basically, if you're running a business, you can buy PayMaya's payment terminal and you can receive cashless payments using that. So it's really handy when you're running a restaurant or a shop because not only does it allow you to receive payments from all payment methods, it can also allow you to monitor your inventory, track sales, all of that. So PayMaya gets a cut for each transaction. And now imagine how much they're making considering that their clients include government agencies, McDonald's, Jollibee, Mercury Drug, Watsons, Caltex, Shell, Landers, basically almost every establishment that has a nationwide presence is part of PayMaya's client list. And so it's not hard to believe Maya when they say that they're the largest processor of merchant payments in the Philippines. PayMaya Enterprise is now called Maya Business. And if you check their website, you can see the types of terminals that you can buy as a business owner. And interestingly, a competitor of these Maya payment terminals is BDO, which has their own terminal. Maya has been so aggressive in pushing this part of their business, and their sales team is known for having these intense quotas, so they've been so aggressive in getting nationwide chains, local brands, and entrepreneurs to use Maya for payment processing. And so with this, you see two different strategies. Think of it as layers. Whereas Gcash prioritized getting as many users as possible to use its e-wallet, Maya has been building the foundation. It's been focusing on building a pure end-to-end financial empire, meaning it needs to get as many businesses to use Maya to process payments, and they did that with Maya Enterprise, onboarding these massive malls, supermarkets, brands, and you can actually spot this in the wild yourself. The next time you use your phone or your card for cashless payments at the gas station or at the mall, try to spot the Maya logo because there's a big chance it will be using Maya for payment processing. Not only that, way back in 2015, Smart already had this thing called Smart Padala Pick Up Anywhere. This was their solution on how they can work with not only big establishments but also with sari-sari store owners. So remember the Bicol story? I think we all know that there's still a percentage of our population who still do not have bank accounts, people who are just not knowledgeable enough when it comes to mobile payments. Like, all of this is just too foreign for them. And so what Smart did with Smart Padala Pick Up Anywhere was that they started working with these sari-sari store owners and turned them into agents. And so they told them, hey, here's another product that you can sell. You don't have to change anything about the way you run your store, but here's another income stream. And so of course, it's a no-brainer for these stores. And so now people, especially in rural areas, they could just head to any of these stores and then be able to send and receive money from there. All they needed was a mobile number. And so it's as if they turn a regular sari-sari store into like a Palawan pawn shop branch where you can send and receive money. And so this was brilliant because it allowed them to reach people in rural areas and people who do not have the means, maybe they don't have a smartphone or they just don't know much about mobile payments. And so like I said, if you think about these in layers, this is like the lowest layer of the foundation. It allowed this demographic to have access to smart money, which is now Maya. Their bet is that once they've laid out all the groundwork, the value of their e-wallet and their digital bank, their bet is that when they introduce Maya Bank, they can flip the switch, turn the tide, and overtake Gcash. Maya did emphasize that their goal was to create an end-to-end financial system, meaning from the merchant side to the users that they would have a presence in all of this. What's amazing is that you could see the differences in their strategy. Whereas Maya had this Smart Padala networking thing way back in 2015, Gcash launched something similar only in 2021 or 2022. Like, they also started working with sari-sari stores. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this side hustle where people are doing the cash in, cash out with Gcash thing. These are very popular now, especially in rural areas and for those people who don't have the required documents to open bank accounts but need to use Gcash. So yeah, you can see Gcash working on something that PayMaya has been doing years ago, and you can see PayMaya doing something that Gcash is doing years ago. But now let's talk about the rebrand and Maya's future. So in 2022, PayMaya rebranded to Maya. And this is also the time when they launched their digital bank. Although Gcash leads, there's one thing that they don't have, which is a digital banking license. And Gcash defended this by saying that they don't really need a digital banking license because they already have a digital banking partner, which is CIMB. And he also said that having a digital bank license isn't really a silver bullet. But based on what I've read, people are saying that they are opening accounts in Maya because this is actually Maya's bank and not just a partner bank like CIMB is to Gcash. Although Gcash is saying that it's not a silver bullet, people are actually considering these factors. 6 months after the launch of Maya, it reached over 1 million customers and had over 10 billion pesos in deposits. And they were able to do this with aggressive promos and high interest rates for their savings accounts. I think in December 2022, their savings account offered a 6% per annum and they had a lot of these cashbacks. Now, this strategy isn't new. It's a go-to strategy for banks to get more people to sign up to their savings accounts. Shopee Cbank did the same, and even PayPal when they were starting out. Of course, you have to expect Maya to pull back on these promos as soon as they get enough users. Although Maya expects to become profitable in 2024, a full 3 years after Gcash achieved profitability, honestly, a lot of things can happen. I've read a lot of posts from people asking, should I use Gcash or should I use Maya? Gcash or Maya? I've noticed a trend that people have been saying, which is that they use both but for different reasons. A majority of them use Gcash for their day-to-day, like for sending and receiving money and for paying in establishments, but they use Maya for their savings in Maya Bank and they use Maya to pay for bills. But now personally, I didn't like Maya back then, but recently after reading all of these and knowing about everything that Maya has been doing, I recently installed the Maya app and opened a Maya bank account. So yeah, I really thought that the race to victory in the fintech wars in the Philippines, I thought it was over, considering Gcash's massive lead. But a lot can still happen, and I'm beginning to think that things are just getting started. And that's it. Now you know about the origin story of Maya. If you made it this far, please leave a comment, press the like button, and subscribe. It would really help YouTube push my videos to more people like you. I also make shorter clips on Instagram and TikTok, so go follow me there. The links are in the description. And I make threads on Twitter occasionally, so go check it out there. My name is Chris. See you in another video.